Welcome. It's another Friday. It's another live stream. So thanks for showing up. Good to see you here. Let me take a look in the chat and see who's here already. I just had an automation problem. For whatever reason, that air purifier comes on in the afternoons at 2 o'clock, and I need to turn that off, but I haven't. And so then it just was on during my live stream. So let's see. I need to get the chat window open here. Can't even find it. There we go. Good afternoon, George. Nice to see you here. Oh, wow. My chat window is massive here. Got lots of technical problems. I think I have a fun time planned here. We're going to be going through some of my old wish lists for Apple Smart Home Tech HomeKit and see what's come true, what hasn't. I have intentionally not looked at these, so we'll see how it actually turns out going through them. And before we do that, speaking of things I think we were all wishing for that's not going to come anytime soon, Mark Gurman in his newsletter last Sunday pretty strongly stated that there is no HomePod with a screen coming anytime soon. Probably a 2025 product at the earliest. So, I hope I'd love to see them Apple update the HomePod Mini sometime this year, but, we'll see. I don't think that, based on what Mark is saying, we're not going to see a HomePod with a screen anytime soon. Quick question. Do you know of a HomeKit manufacturer that makes a 3-gang switch? I'm in Europe and Aqara only make a 2-gang. I am not familiar with European switches. I know Eve does make some European switches that I really like their US switches. Lutron is still my first choice in the US, but I don't think those are available in Europe. Okay, so they've changed. I'm out of touch with what's going on with YouTube. Hey, Bill. Great to see you here. Hey, James from Las Vegas. Great to see you here. And Modern Day Tech Eric and Shane Watley are here. Nice. Great to see everybody here. And yes, again, 45 degrees outside. That sounds like it's, I think, maybe a little warmer than last week. I'm trying to remember Garrett's, but nice to see you. Tuning in from Troy. Greetings from Highland Park. I'm guessing that's the suburb, the Highland Park that's a suburb here in the Chicago area. Good afternoon, Frederick. Good to see the gang here. What is our favorite smart doorbell at the moment? So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're strictly looking at HomeKit Secure Video, I would say it's probably between the Aqara or the Belkin. Aqara because it's battery operated and less expensive and potentially more reliable, but Belkin for the better picture quality. My front door currently still has the Ecobee smart doorbell on it. I think that's actually a really good option. It does not support HomeKit Secure Video, but it does record clips to Ecobee's service. Now, disclosure, Ecobee sponsored a video on my channel about that doorbell, and they did provide me with a year of their cloud service as part of that. So I haven't had to pay for the video recording, but I like the integration there where you get a security system and the video recording, and some Ecobee cameras do support HomeKit Secure Video. They're indoor cameras. So I think it's a pretty good system. And it works well with Apple Home in terms of the doorbell notifications and the live view in Apple Home, and getting the doorbell to ring on your HomePod. So you get a lot of the benefits of having an Apple compatible doorbell, but then you're going with a system that's not HomeKit Secure Video. I've heard other people have luck with the Nest doorbells if you're into that similar kind of idea. And I've done that in the past, not with the latest versions of the Nest doorbell, but I've done it with past versions of the Nest doorbell where you do, I think George Langenbeer, that's what you've been doing, with a Starling Home Hub as sort of a bridge between the Nest cameras and Apple Home. So that could be a way to solve that. Yes, I really would like to see Aqara add a vertical aspect ratio on their camera. I think that's all they would have needed to do. Just go inside there and turn that sensor vertical and have a 9:16 video, not 16:9, and it would be perfect. But trying to talk my wife into the yes, Keenan. Yeah, it's I don't think it's on sale for $70 now. Wow. That's a deal. But no, I don't know if they're updating their doorbell. I haven't seen any word on it. I think it's an interesting category. I think there's so much demand out there for HomeKit Secure Video doorbells, but I just don't think there's a lot of companies, for various reasons, really eager to make HomeKit Secure Video doorbells. Yes, and George is still rocking the Nest doorbell with the Starling Home Hub. So, I think when you look at the bigger market in North America, especially with doorbells, Ring has such a dominant market share that I think it's also, we look at it as far as like competing amongst Apple Home doorbells, but I think anybody who's actually like, as a company spending the money to get into the space, they're probably looking at it in terms of compatibility with more than just Apple and also competing with Ring. So much of my neighborhood, people have the Ring video doorbell series. And I think there's just kind of this network effect where your neighbors get it and then you find out about it. And there's sort of like this little social network for neighbors in the app. And there's a lot of stuff I don't like about Ring, but, they sure are dominant in the doorbell space. And so I'd imagine that's maybe part of why we don't see a lot of doorbells is just, some companies don't want to have to compete with that size of a competitor with as deep of a pockets as Ring has. Oh, good. Your Logitech has worked surprisingly well. Yes, knock on wood, the past year and a half. Yeah, and the package detection, I've heard that is not that great with the just HomeKit Secure Video because that's on Apple's and not Logitech. But yeah, I've heard plenty of, including my own experience, Wi-Fi connectivity issues with the Logitech one. Once I got the Belkin one on my network, it seemed to stay on the network more. But that's great. Not saying the Logitech one is universally one that does not work for people. So I think Apple even still sells the Circle View doorbell in their stores. They switched the Circle View camera out for the Eve outdoor cam, but I think it says something what Apple decides to put in their stores, just as sort of a vote of confidence in what works well with the Apple ecosystem. Yes, of course. It'll go offline tomorrow now that you said it's working so well. Happy Friday. Thank you. Yes. Great to see everybody here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this first video, which is my 2019 Apple HomeKit wish list. And so I'll kind of react to this as we go. We'll see technically. I haven't done anything like this on the channel, so hopefully Windy Tech. Today we're going to talk about the 5 things on my HomeKit wish list for 2020, and then stay tuned at the end of this video for an important update. You can get like an outdoor camera from Blink for about $100, and the battery lasts 2 years. And HomeKit, like manufacturers, might steer some low power cameras, and then hopefully, and welcome to win cost as well. Looking at the hardware, number one on my list is seeing HomeKit secure video cameras that are also low power cameras, and then hopefully lower cost as well. Looking at the competitive landscape around home video surveillance, Blink, which is an Amazon company, has really amazing low power cameras that you can get like an outdoor camera from Blink for about $100, and the battery lasts 2 years. And for people looking to get into HomeKit video in 2020, that's a really compelling option that's not with HomeKit, but that might steer some people away. Now that we have HomeKit secure video as more of like a standardized way to deal with video in HomeKit, I think there's an opportunity for a company to come in and make a low power camera that supports that. I do think that Eufy and the Eufy series. What is Apple going to do with the HomePod in 2020? It hasn't seemed to be a huge focus for them over 2019, and really, as a smart speaker, it more competes with the likes of Sonos than it does, say, Amazon Echo or Google Home Mini. And related to the HomePod, I don't see Apple making, a really cheap, tiny smart speaker. Maybe they will, but there we go. That's so terrible. I'm sorry about that. So yes, first two things, hopefully you can hear me now. So I wanted Apple to make a smaller version of the HomePod, and they did that with the HomePod Mini. So there we go. That's that. And then the first one, I was saying that I think that Apple, it's not Apple, but like there's enough indoor HomeKit secure video cameras that are not that expensive these days, and low power in terms of power by USB-C, micro USB. So I think the HomeKit secure video one has kind of netted out as well. Yeah, there are still companies that make cameras that are cheaper than what you can get for an indoor camera, but not so much for outdoor cameras yet. So hopefully we'll see some more developments with outdoor cameras, but yeah, for indoor, I think we kind of got that wish of more low power. And then wanting in 2019 Apple to make a smaller, lower cost HomePod, they've been there, done that. I think Apple could do a really cool job competing with something like the Google Nest Hub Max. When Google sort of merged Nest back into Google last year, they came out with a product called the Nest Hub Max, which is a screen in a Google Assistant that has a camera on it, and then it shows you all the information just like any kind of visual Google Assistant would, and it has that voice interface. And I think that Apple, for maybe around $300, could do a really cool version of this that integrates with your phones and shows you all kinds of cool UI. Maybe has some third-party app extendability with it for developers to plug in, or maybe you can run your Siri shortcuts from it. People like myself have been mounting iPads to their wall to control HomeKit, and I think some kind of dedicated device that just looks elegant from Apple could be a better version. We keep on dreaming. The dream is still alive, but no HomePod with a screen yet. Okay. Sorry about the audio issues earlier, but Let's see what the next item is on this list.
Version of that and really improve that experience and make that more accessible than having to buy an iPad and keep it always on, which has its challenges. So we'll see what Apple does with the HomePod ecosystem, but I really think they could do a lot by taking it visual. Number 3 on my list, and this is the last hardware item, is more in-home security. Aqara has really been the only compelling option when it comes to home security and integrating it with HomeKit. And I would love to see other HomeKit accessory manufacturers, maybe home security system manufacturers, integrate with HomeKit. I think there's a lot of really cool automations you can do when tying your security system to your smart home. So this video is coming up right before CES 2020, and I'm going to be really excited to see all of the hardware and announcements from HomeKit related manufacturers at CES. I won't be traveling there myself this year.
So yeah, oh man, I mean, we haven't had too many developments in this space of like smart home security. Abode is the biggest one, and they seem to be. I'll be looking at some of their newer stuff soon, but they seem to have been the biggest security player to support Apple Home as far as a security system. The Ecobee one that I mentioned earlier, that works through shortcuts, and a number of security systems I think do that similar kind of integration where you can control the system with the app on your phone via shortcuts from the Shortcuts app. And so like I have in my good night routine, arming the system to stay at night with that, with a shortcut. But yeah, Aqara as in sort of the DIY space, and then also Abode are really the two security system options. But we didn't have Abode, I think, in Apple Home at this point, at least when I made this video. So yes, there is. Yep, still waiting on that one. Oh yeah, for I don't know what you're talking about with or maybe the iPad probably earlier. And yes, Luke, there is a Kickstarter for the U200 Aqara lock, which is their retrofit model, meaning you can put it on top of an existing lock, potentially like if you rent or things. The U300 is still yet to be announced in terms of like when it's going to ship. But here, let's see. Oh, good to hear. Simac, you've been on Abode and happy with it. Yeah, I had it for a while too. I had some issues for a while with connectivity, but I'm hoping that when I come back to the system, maybe sometime this year to check it out for you guys, that it'll be more reliable than what I had in the past. I've heard good things from other people. I think Shane, you use Abode in your home, or at least have in the recent past.
CES. I won't be traveling there myself this year, but stay tuned on this channel for more about what comes out related to HomeKit at CES in 2020. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't already not miss that. So moving on to software, number 4 is in the Home app. I'd love to see better troubleshooting. So if you have an accessory and it's not responding, then all you see is that red text below the icon. I would love for the Home app to be able to tell me, since if you have a home hub in your home, always on, talking to your accessories, it should be able to log the time when that accessory went offline and tell me in the Home app, because that would be really helpful to know. Is this just kind of an intermittent thing that just went down quickly, or has this been down like all day? And also, are all my accessories down from a particular manufacturer, or is it just a particular hub that it's attached to HomeKit with? Just surfacing this kind of information in the app would help make it easier to troubleshoot problems in HomeKit. And as hopefully HomeKit grows in 2020 and more people start to use it, it would be a little easier for less tech savvy people to figure out what went wrong in their smart home.
Yeah, totally. I would still love this. I don't think Apple's really added much in terms of not responding. I mean, you can quickly see the summaries of which devices are not responding in the Home app in various ways, and that helps. But there's still no kind of persistent log. I'm sure the question from Apple's end is, where would that be stored? Would it be stored in iCloud? Okay, great. You're still follow up from earlier. Shane's still rocking a boat. That's great to hear. Yeah, now it's the gray text for the troubleshooting. No more red text. I guess it was a little bit strong in the UI to show the red not responding. Let's keep going.
Get it back up and running. And the other thing related to this is maybe you've tried to trigger a scene in HomeKit and seen it load, and then the scene doesn't light up. It just kind of turns off. And I would really like to see them be able to describe what's happening there, because from my understanding, it's that it's trying to set all of the accessories that are related to that scene to their particular states. Certain lights, turn on, turn off, other things.
Now, if you ask from the HomePod, bring back 2024, Eric. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, you can see me in the corner. If you go to the HomePod and ask it to do a scene these days, it'll tend to tell you if something's wrong with the various devices that you trigger in the scene, and it'll say such and such is not responding. But in the Home app, I don't really see that. Other than just if you can actually see also that accessory in the sort of tiles for accessories and see that it's not responding there.
Turn on or off. And then if it hits a failure along that and is not able to fully get everything turned on or off exactly how you want. 5, related to Siri, I would love to finally be able to turn off scenes with Siri.
Hey, turn off the office bright scene.
I can't turn off a scene, but you can ask me to turn on a different one.
And still the same. Still can't turn off scenes with Siri. I bet this is one of those things where it's hard for them to figure out what is the functional reverse of what you've set. So like with a light, it's with the light that's just an on-off switch is pretty obvious, or a smart plug, right? If it's on, it should be off. If it's off, it should be on. But like, what about a dimmer? What about any kind of a fan or an air purifier, all kinds of other smart devices, a thermostat? There's no sort of ability to understand, I'm just going to go back to, something else. And so I bet that's probably something where Apple's just not doing it because there's no clear way to do a reverse, even though they still kind of allow you to do this inside of the Home app. You just can't do it with the HomePod. So I don't know what kind of magic they're pulling off there, but
it's 2020 and we have all this advanced smart home tech, and we still can't ask Siri to turn off a scene. Being a software engineer myself, I know that things like this often are way more complicated than they appear on the surface. But we're talking about Apple here, and it's been a number of years, and I just really wish, amongst the many things they've been addressing to do to make Siri better, that they would just allow Siri to turn off HomeKit scenes. So I want to take a minute in this video to talk about the future of this channel.
Oh yeah, so this was basically just me talking about that I was changing the name of the channel because it used to be called Windy Tech back in the day, and so I changed it to be under my name. So that was what the next part of that video was. All right, back to main camera. Take a look at the chat, see if there's other. It's easy to think of scenes where they turn off doesn't make sense. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of edge cases where it's like if you just have like a couple smart plugs, you might think, well, of course, I should be able to turn this off. But yeah, once you get into like all the things Apple has support, and I've heard from people who work at Apple, it's like that's one of the things too. It's like for the scale of software that they ship, if something doesn't work for like 0.5% of their user base, or has a bug that affects like, that much a percentage, like a tiny relative percentage, but it's still so many people. And so you have to think about all these random things going on into multiple, second and third order effects of things. So let's see. I'm going to go to the next video here, and we'll see what has changed with the next wish list. Choose file. There we go. So that was that was my 2020 wish list. As you probably saw, I mentioned 2020. We haven't done my 2019 one. So I'm going to open this up and we'll see what different in
My name's Eric Wielander, and welcome to Windy Tech. Today, I want to
There's that Windy Tech name that I was talking about earlier.
do a quick follow-up video to a recent video I did
This was still the area when I put music in a lot of my videos. So, yeah.
on CES 2019 and what we can expect from HomeKit in 2019. If you've missed that video, it's linked in the description below or probably up at the top in a card. As we all know, what gets announced and what we can guess was coming from CES is not always what actually happens. And there's still probably a lot of things that weren't announced at CES still coming this year. So this is what I want to see from HomeKit and the broader ecosystem in 2019. And let me know down in the comments below if some of these are things that you really like too, or if maybe there's things that I haven't mentioned on here that you're really wanting in HomeKit to see this year. The first thing is more accessory support. This is probably true every single year for me and a lot of other people. It's just HomeKit needs more accessories. There continues to be more smart home stuff that comes out and doesn't support HomeKit. For example, a quick follow-up from my last video, I talked about the Lutron Cassetta fan switch, which will be able to turn any sort of dumb fan into a smart fan by making the wall switch that controls that fan hooked into Lutron's Cassetta wireless ecosystem. And that's great, and that maybe Apple needs to add more UI into HomeKit for, although they have smart fan support already, so I think we're good there. Or maybe it's just, Lutron needs to do more work, but that's what I'm getting at. I feel like there's a lot of overhead and extra work that these companies have to do to support HomeKit, and the more Apple can continue to make that easier, the better.
Oh, we sort of get that with Matter. Easier to support HomeKit. Let's see. What's the next thing on here?
That it's coming. But Jason Johnson, the CEO of August, had a great interview with Nilay Patel on the Vergecast this past week. His speculation on that they're not the only players in the space seeing this issue as well. Ring, of course, announced HomeKit support, and that has yet to actually materialize. The next thing I'd love to see personally is better Apple TV integration. We got some really exciting announcements about TVs that will support HomeKit and AirPlay 2 built into the TV at CES, but the problem is it's newer TVs, and all of these TVs are pretty high end. I think the lowest starting price.
We've gotten that. We've gotten, way more TVs now support HomeKit at a lot of different price points. And then we also have a lot better support for Apple Home in Apple TV. There's the controls right there in Control Center that you can get to. You can view cameras. You get notifications about things like doorbells. So, yeah, I think it's much better. Let's see.
The ability to turn the TV on or off via HDMI CEC, to control the TV, and you just want something on the TV. And I got 2 Google Home Minis for the Google Assistant system, both free with different Nest products I bought last year. And there are numerous companies.
So this was a repeat of earlier in 2020. I also wanted a lower cost HomePod. But, and that's come with the HomePod Mini.
Just because it's top of mind, it's what I'm thinking of. Doesn't mean I don't use HomeKit as well, but you can make maybe more likely that Apple releases their own kind of product, but something needs to happen in that space. Otherwise, I think they're going to quickly start to lose ground in 2019 as these other voice assistants continue to have really easy to access alternatives. Another thing on the HomePod specifically is better music playback options with scenes. So right now, if you want to trigger music playing on a HomePod with a specific scene, you can set up a Siri shortcut, and then if your phone is linked to that HomePod and you talk to that HomePod to run the shortcut, it will play the music on the HomePod and it will play it'll trigger the smart home scene. But
this we've totally gotten. I love the integration in app. If you subscribe to Apple Music, you can then use Apple Music to play on your AirPlay speakers in Apple Home. So that we've totally gotten, and that's great. Let's Let's see.
On the Home app, and you can say, with this scene, I want this HomePod to play this playlist from Apple Music, and even better than that, I want this HomePod and these other AirPlay 2 speakers near it to play this playlist from Apple Music. I think that would be great. I'm a huge fan of Sonos. I have Sonos speakers all over my house, and I do really love that you can be so specific about, I want this to play on my HomePod at this particular time. Capability to deal motion detecting range. I think this will be a really exciting tool, provided it supports HomeKit, which I'm pretty sure it will. And in terms of creating more outdoor scenes and automation as the weather gets warm. Let me know in the.
Okay, yeah, the outdoor motion sensor, I think was what I was talking about there at the end. I find my old videos so cringe to watch. It's hard. Oh yeah, and then here I'm back to double the Erics with the without the video. So let's see, remove that overlay. So yeah, this is a good question I saw in the chat. What are your expectations for HomeKit in 2024? Is this a video to come closer to WWDC? I might make one of these again sometime soon. The last one I did of like HomeKit software wish list and stuff, I think was in 2022. So, I think though, from what we hear about the rumors around iOS 18, I think the big thing for automation, and I hope this extends to home automation, is that Apple's going to move to a lot more AI, large language model sort of interpretation of what we want to do. And I think that could be amazing for smart home stuff of, being able to somehow tell your smart home every morning at 7 a.m., turn on this scene, or, every night at sunset when I'm away from home, do this, whatever it is. And that could make the automation side of Apple Home way more approachable and give people more of a reason to, use Apple Home and set up all the accessories and things than if they, don't feel comfortable going through all the steps of thinking about setting up an automation, even though it's not that hard. And once you get the hang of it, a lot of us here you're pretty used to the process already, but I think doing some stuff with that with certainly shortcuts as well as Apple Home, I think will be a big step forward. And that's really my main thing on my list of what I'd like to see from Apple Home. Not to say there aren't like little features and things I'd also love to see. So I might make another one of these videos. I just think it's interesting to look back on some of the older ones and see what's changed. Usually though, like if I really wanted to influence what Apple does, I'd make this video, I think more like late summer, fall, when they're probably starting to think about the next release as the current one ships. But that's not really when all of us in the consumer space want to really like think about it. But that's kind of, high and mighty of me to think that it could ever influence any conversation inside of Apple. You never know. Let's see. Oh yeah. Apple was trying to be a TV manufacturer. There's the analyst, Apple analyst Gene Munster was famous for always calling up, this is going to be the year. I wish they had bought Vizio instead of Walmart. That's a good point, Frederick. I don't know if Vizio though really fits Apple's DNA, because Vizio is more about scale and making something affordable, which is great. I mean, I love Vizio TVs, but I just see them maybe not gelling with a lot of Apple's market. And I think when you get into the budget TV market, a lot of the game there is data collection and analyzing customers. And I think that's a lot of how TVs get to be as cheap as they are. And I don't see that being a game that Apple wants to play in terms of, let's, survey what all of our customers are watching on their TVs and sell that data to somebody else. Like that's not what Apple does. So, yes, Walmart buying Vizio. Yes, can we just get rid of the Discover tab? I don't know though. Like, I mean, it's. I still think they need to do something for making smart home tech easier to understand and approachable. And so if someone's just poking around their phone, their new iPhone, and they stumble on the Home app and then they see the Discover tab, maybe they'll use that as a way to sort of understand what is this app here for and what can I do with it. Yeah, I mean, it's annoying for us power users to still have that thing sitting there. A lot of apps you launch and there's a tutorial and then you do the tutorial or say skip and then you're done. Not so much with Apple Home. So I agree. The Discover tab, taking up an entire tab on the bottom, it'd be nice if that tab could be something else like cameras or, some other kind of view. I do really like the view that Apple added with the tabs where you can then filter accessories by tabs at the top. I could pull that up here on my okay, let me share this screen here. Hopefully you guys can see my what's new in home now. I get this alert every time I launch Home on Mac with recent versions. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, exactly what you wish. Yeah, the back to data collection. I can see where you're coming from, Garance, that it would be nice, but I just don't think Apple could make the economics work, especially at their margins, because I think a lot of these TV manufacturers, their margins are already very thin. And if they then took, something, if they took one of the ways they make money away from the product, then it would kind of destroy the economics there. But anyways, I know what's new in home. Speaking of, ironically, this subject of today. But I really like what they've done here with the category tabs where you can go, it's in the sidebar here as well as in the top across all the different apps where you can go to the different categories of devices, and then they have the clean energy monitoring. So I find this really cool, especially to see like what lights are on right now. And so that's definitely a great improvement with the new UI. I've seen some people talk about recently like, oh, I wish Apple needs to just completely redo the Home app again. And I don't think that's really the case. I think that their redesign that they did in 2022 was pretty good. Yeah, there's things that could be better, but I don't think that Apple needs to like rethink the Home app again. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Modern Day Tech. I'm sorry might have missed this earlier. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. So, thanks for showing up and great to see you here. And thank you. I need to get like some kind of a fancy thing like Shane. You have this beautiful thing where it's like super chat and all this stuff. So I need to like set something up like that. But you'll still always get my undying gratitude and thanks for that. So let's see. So we can go ahead and let's see if there's anything more to glean from. I have one more video, home wish list video to talk about. And let's see if there's any tidbits we can pull out of this one, because I think there are. And this is more recent. This is the 2021 video.
My name's Eric Wiehlander. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about 6 things on my wish list for HomeKit and smart home tech in 2021. Now, I did one of these videos in 2020, so I'll link that in a card or down in the description below. And my goodness, the channel has evolved and grown so much in 2020. I'm really excited for what 2021 will bring as well. So thank you to all of you. And if you're interested in smart home tech and Apple in general, please subscribe to the channel. For more people weren't really talking about is it supports Thread. So Bluetooth accessories with HomeKit can also support communicating over Thread, and that allows these accessories to form a low power mesh network around your home to communicate. So they're not relying on the Wi-Fi, and you also don't need things like a Bluetooth range extender.
That they announced at CES this year. And I think that there's a potential that in order to make the smart home really reliable, where is the ideal position for a company to sort of integrate versus a company to, add in like third parties. And in a lot of ways, having Apple make the Home app and then your iPhone, your HomePod, and all that stuff, and then having other companies make the light switches, the sensors, everything else, that can work. But I'm almost wondering if the sort of reverse might also be even better, where one company makes a hub with Matter that can control all your Matter accessories. And then if you buy products from that particular company, they're just going to be more reliable because they are used to talking, they're tested and set up to talk to that company's hub. And that hub runs all your automation. And then something like Apple Home just plugs into that hub and talks the accessories there. And that hub is what's running your, like, every morning at sunrise, do this. And, when I leave the home, do this, and all those other things. And because then, sort of the integration of hardware and software happens there between the hardware hub and the hardware of the smart home accessories, and then Apple sort of world of your personal computers, that then just talks over to the hub or handful of hubs that you happen to have in your home that are not Apple Home related. Because I think maybe one of the challenges that Thread has is that there are so many different circumstances that can use Thread. And so then if you happen to have a device on your network that has a problematic connection for some reason, or is sort of a weak link in the chain of your mesh network of Thread, is it actually going to work reliably? So it's something I've been thinking about, and I'm probably going to make some content on this topic more soon. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things on paper that mean that Thread could work around that and sort of compensate for bad network connections in a certain area and reroute stuff. But in practice, I just hear so much variability in Thread. It's almost like Apple Vision Pro reviews in terms of some people love Thread and it works really well and it's super fast. Other people hate it and it's terrible and it never works for them. So, and you don't hear the same thing necessarily about, let's say, Lutron Caseta Wireless or Philips Hue or Akara Zigbee products. So, I don't know. I've sort of been thinking about that process and how much is Matter over Thread actually the future, and how much is it sort of something that actually works better for people. But we can go back to the video.
My name's Eric Wielander. Welcome to Accessories Across. That you could have things just visually, like seeing timers, and imagine even multiple timers than a lot of other companies can. And of course, just getting HomeKit secure video notifications, like when someone rings your doorbell. Apple added this to the Apple TV in 20.
Yeah, here's the HomePod with a screen request again. So there's that again.
20 plugged in all the time. So I think there are just a whole lot of layers there that just made that feel like a hacked together experience for me. And of course, Apple could do all of this kind of a product in software by having maybe some kind of family mode with the iPad, where it could sort of tweak iPad OS to be more like this, but
Family mode with the iPad. LOL. Hasn't really happened.
so I have 3 Eero Pros routers that are spread out throughout the home, and I think some kind of setup like that with mesh networking is really great. I really like Eero, but I just love to see more options and see those options come down in price. Right now, to get a good top of the line mesh network setup, you're easily spending $300 to $500 or even more money, and that's a lot for people to invest in.
That's still about what you'd end up paying for Wi-Fi mesh network, like a low-end system. Although today prices are more expensive. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see Apple still make Wi-Fi, but that I talked about that with Robert Spivak on his channel this week. Video just went live yesterday.
Up with some other features that other smart assistants have by adding things like intercom in 2020, where you can announce things. And of course, Apple did their own creative take on that and integrated it with all of their Apple devices across your family. So that's pretty cool. But then I still think they could do a really good job with some kind of a guard mode where the HomePod's able to listen for things like smoke alarms and alert you.
We got that in 2023. So that's pretty cool now that you can listen to, as I said, smoke alarms or other kind of alarms that go off and get alerted about those and then listen in. So that's a great feature that Apple added already. So that's cool. Let's see what else.
In a set of features that would be easy for someone to turn on with a new HomePod. All you'd have to get is a HomePod and a handful of smart plugs, and you'd really have a lot more features than you have now, because you'd have smart alerts for smoke alarms and other, alarms in your house potentially, and then this randomized lighting, which a lot of people, have been setting up for years, even with just simple timers.
That is not something we have yet, is sort of the home away features where the Apple Home system can randomize your lights. Various smart home vendors like Lutron have things like that with Lutron Home Away, as well as I think Philips Hue has something like that. Alexa certainly has a system like that for guard mode. I'm sorry, I just said the bad word for those of you who have Amazon devices listening. But yeah, I don't know. I think that would be really nice to have Apple add something like that. Where you do some kind of a, system that makes it look like your home. I have that right now with a scene where if we're away from home, it turns on a scene when the sun sets to put lights a certain way. And you can certainly create that to be randomized with shortcuts in the Home app, but it's a more manual process than just, hey, HomePod, make it look like I'm not home, or make it look like I'm home when I'm not. And I think there could be, again, back to my hopes for iOS 18 and the new operating systems coming this year, like maybe there is some sort of more intelligence there in finding and suggesting automation. Certainly, you see things like Akara and Govi, both at CES, had various AI-driven lighting scenarios where you can use AI to make lights do things more intelligently than without as much manual work on your own to set up those automations. So, yeah, I don't know. I think there's still some. Well, I like that Apple added the lights there, the smoke alarm detection. I think they could still do some more work on lights, but there's a let's see, a bit of background noise coming through on my end. Hopefully, not too distracting for you guys. So let's see. I'm going to go through the chat and see if we have any questions. I have $135 in 2 Eero Pro 6Es used here at home. Nice. Yeah, because with Wi-Fi 7, I think it's kind of brought down the prices of some of the Wi-Fi 6 devices, which are still plenty good enough for a lot of normal use cases. I mean, pretty much there are very few reasons why anyone would need Wi-Fi 7. So at least at this point. So I think that's great. Oh, and just secondhand. Yeah. So Yep. That makes sense. Good thinking there, Bill. Way to save some money. That's great. Phasing out. Yes. Lady A, as Eric from Modern Day Tech calls it. Yes. I go back and forth about playing with other systems, but I almost entirely stick to Apple Home and Siri and HomePods. Yeah, the closest thing to getting Apple to doing Wi-Fi would be Ubiquiti. I kind of agree. I think Ubiquiti does a great job. I think that Ubiquiti, given their target market, doesn't do a great job of making it easy for less technical people to understand. I think Eero has such good app design and features that, I mean, that's like my parents and my in-laws both, I set them both up on Eero. Just because I think that that's a pretty easy system to understand. And while I can be there and help them with it, like they can look at the app and figure out what's going on. But I love Ubiquiti, and I know a lot of other tech savvy people love it. And I think that they could improve their usability, but I just think Eero has been so far ahead in that particular area of usability that that's why I sort of steer away from using Ubiquiti in places where I'm not maintaining it myself. Let's see. A lot of great conversations in the chat. Literally heard nothing the past 60 seconds. Oh man, I'm sorry about the audio today. Just working through these bugs about reacting to videos. I need to get this sort of stuff down more technically. So hopefully future videos where we react to or talk about various videos online, I can sort something out that actually works better. But sorry about the ups and downs with audio today. Oh yes. Ironically, working on a security camera wish list video as we speak. Includes great HomeKit secure video. Should be released later today. Nice. So stay tuned on George Langbeer's channel on YouTube. If you haven't checked out his channel, it's under his name as here on the screen. I'll add a link in the description of this live stream if you're watching it later. Yeah, go check it out because I think wish lists are good. I just haven't had as much of like I felt like a good set of like, I want these features. So I haven't done a wish list recently, but I think they're can be interesting to think about, like what could these companies do to make things better? And you never know what potentially makes its way back to the people who actually work on these products and services. Because there are definitely people at all these large companies that sort of keep their ear to the ground about what people like us are saying about stuff. Yes, me in 2024, March of 2024 is muted. I fixed that problem, but there was that little bit in there where current Eric was muted. Do you think Lady A is going away generally? I don't think so. I think Amazon's pretty bought into it. I mean, you could see a world where maybe Amazon rebrands their system, but I don't think it's very likely. I think Amazon has enough brand equity invested in that particular name that I think they're just going to keep it. I don't know. But, and by the way, if you're not familiar with this term that other people use on YouTube, it basically is referring to Amazon's voice assistant, which I don't want to say the name of because that's why this term is used some places because, then you trigger it. But, and I know in certain parts of the world, it sounds less like a female voice or it's a less feminine voice in certain parts of the world. I also wonder about that with Apple as they maybe make Siri more driven by AI. Would they decide to rebrand Siri to something else? I don't know. It's hard to say. You could see both ways. But I think either way, Apple's just going to, we're going to complain about whatever brand name they do or don't choose there, and then we'll just get used to it. So it's typically how it seems to work with a lot of these types of scenarios. A digital assistant race. Yeah, I could really see that. I think the challenge there too is how do these companies deal with issues where the assistant says something that, let's say, a spokesperson for the company would not say? As you're getting answers or things, we've heard about AI hallucinating. Of course, Google with Gemini had some, questionable decisions about how they were keeping the AI from doing certain things, and then sort of not objectively not giving you good or correct results in certain scenarios with their AI. So you could see that being a challenge, I think, especially for someone like Apple, who is generally so precise and refined with what they say in anything they do. Having a situation where an AI model can just say anything, and of course, under the scrutiny that Apple gets for everything they do, I think that's probably a very nerve-wracking thing for the company. But yeah, I agree. I think that we will hopefully see a lot of new capabilities added, especially, as I mentioned earlier, I hope around the sort of intelligently doing things for you in your home without you having to go in and key in a particular automation. Because all of us here, we love home automation, and we can spend, hours setting up all kinds of fancy things and get a lot of fun out of, like, oh, look at this. I just, made this thing that's going to save me a little bit of time every day. But plenty of people don't want to invest that time, but they'd still love the benefit of having things that save them time. And so I think there's a lot of places where AI can fill in that gap and sort of understand what people are asking for, and at least in certain cases, give it to them. So we'll see there. Oh, I think that's ChatGPT. Yeah. ChatGPT got sued for that. Yes, anxiously waiting WWDC to see what comes out this year. I agree. Well, we're coming up on about an hour here for the live stream. Thank you guys for hanging out with me this afternoon. It was fun. I'm sorry for the audio issues, but yeah, and I have another smart home video coming out this weekend, and we're starting to get, I have a lot of different smart home videos in progress right now. So it's an exciting time coming up on the channel, a lot of different products and new ideas coming your way. So stay tuned, and thanks so much for tuning into the live stream. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.